So when I was about, 9 or 10, I was starting to get a little more serious about, riding rough stock. When you're that age, you're only riding like, you ride sheep when you're 5, 6, and you go to, calves when you're 8 to 10, and steers after that, and then bulls if you want. I was at the calf riding stage, and I kind of started taking a, pretty serious interest in it. So my dad saw a unicycle on the side of the road. I think he paid $10 for it, and we fixed it up, and he just said, hey, I want you to learn how to ride this thing, help you with your balance for riding calves. And we still have it. And
the intersection of good drinks, good music, and good times. This is Hops and Spirits Bar Conversations.
I hope you're having a fun week, a fun day. I hope a fun month, fun year. I hope it's all fun and you're having a good time, because I think we all need that no matter what's going on in our lives. We got a good one for you this week as we talk with Chad Bushnell, country artist with some new music coming out. And a really cool tasting notes is I had to ask a very weird question to Chef Alison Settle. Don't forget to check us out on social media at Hop Spirits on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and even YouTube now. You can get us at Hop Spirits, and don't forget to check us out online at hopspirits.com to find our happy hour Q&As, what's pouring around the business, and so much more. But like I said, we got a great chat with Chad Bushnell. Up next is our tasting notes, where I asked the crazy question, soup and booze pairings, to Alison Settle. Enjoy.
Did you know Hops and Spirits is more than just this podcast? Check out hopspirits.com for our latest episode release, past episodes, interviews with interesting folks in the alcohol industry, and so much more. Just go to hopspirits.com. Feel free to wait until this podcast is done.
Joining us here once again on Tasting Notes, she's a 2022 James Beard Best Chef semi-finalist. You can find her pop-up events around Greater Louisville, and she's even doing a little brand influencing for Sullivan University. Welcome back, Alison Settle.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Well, I appreciate the time as always, and it's fun to get your expertise, because you come at things from a little bit different perspective in the alcohol world, coming from the chef side. And normally I would say this was great for, February and so forth, as we're rounding out winter, soup season, although here in Kentucky it was 70 degrees the other day. It's in the 30s and 40s now, but that's Kentucky for you.
It sure is. These winters, I'll never understand them.
And no, but I feel like no matter what, I still want to do this topic, because it's an interesting one that I just don't know if it's even possible, but I assume it is. It's soups and drink pairings, and whether they go perfectly or not, but maybe what you can have with a soup, or make a soup and pair it with something to drink. So is it possible?
It's possible. Honestly, this was a little bit of a conundrum for me. I'm used to pairing like proteins or cocktails to whatever, but like the soup question, this was something I hadn't really thought about in great detail, but I think I've come up with a couple of things that are really fantastic. Okay.
Ooh,
so
I'm excited.
Something I really enjoy is a nice clam chowder. I just really love like thick, rich, comforting soups. I think this would go really well with a Chardonnay. That is, and Chardonnay is something that it seems like it's gone out of fashion a little bit. Like people kind of see that as like an older woman's drink, or somebody that's palate isn't quite as developed as somebody who enjoys a Pinot Noir or something like that. But I think we need to revisit the Chardonnay. So think about a nice, creamy, rich clam chowder with a Chardonnay. And then I was also thinking about butternut squash. So it's February. We don't have a ton of seasonal like fruits and vegetables available, but you can almost definitely get some winter squashes. So just like a really simple butternut squash, roast the squash, puree it with some chicken broth, some onions, garlic, whatever you like. Everybody has their favorite like squash soup recipe. And pair it with a cosmopolitan. Ooh. I don't know why, but this just sounds fantastic to me. There's cranberry in a cosmopolitan. The alcohol is, neutral vodka. I think they would go really well together. And like pairing cranberry and squash is such like a winter thing. I think it's going to be a winner. And then the one I'm most excited about for our Kentucky people. Okay, so think pho, Vietnamese pho. the broth is made with lots of fruits and vegetables and ginger and things like that. But what really sets pho apart is those baking spices that it has inside, like star anise, maybe fennel, cinnamon, cardamom, that sort of thing. Those baking spices are going to go really well with bourbon, I think. There's plenty of bourbons out there that have that profile. And then I think what would be really fantastic with that is either just like an ale 8 and bourbon because of the ginger, but even more fancy would be a Kentucky Mule. Just get that bourbon, that ginger beer. I think they would go perfectly together. And
so it sounds like it is possible.
It's possible. It's possible. I think what you really want to do is just think about the profiles of whatever food you're craving and then try and recreate that in a cocktail. Make them complementary.
That seems so simple, and I'm glad I was able to propose this question because, like I said, I've always wondered because, like I said, when the weather's a little cooler in Kentucky, that could be whenever. That could be summertime. We could get a random cold spell. But it seems like you just need a little bit of something to warm you up, and alcohol can do that, but I feel like you need to have a little something on your stomach.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to get too wacky in this, no.
Now, do you have any fun, maybe soup recipes or a soup idea that folks might not think of? Doesn't necessarily have to have a drink pairing, but something fun that they can whip up in the kitchen.
Oh, boy. Something I really enjoy is play on like food that's a play on words or just like an exploration of one single ingredient. And something I really, really enjoy is putting together Jerusalem artichokes or sunchokes, which is actually the root of a sunflower, with artichokes. And you could do a puree of these roasted Jerusalem artichokes with cream and even just like canned artichoke hearts. And then you can garnish it with roasted sunflower seeds, and you can even make a sunflower seed cream by boiling sunflower seeds and then pureeing them in a blender. And so you can have this whole artichoke celebration. And even though like artichokes and Jerusalem artichokes are not at all related, those flavors pair together really, really well.
I love it. See, you're always bringing some cool knowledge, some fun things, and like I always tell you, I always leave hungry, and I don't think this is an exception at all. I appreciate it, Alison, as always.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Check out Hops and Spirits on social media at Hops Spirits, all one word, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also find Hops and Spirits on YouTube and at hopspirits.com.
Joining us here for our conversation, he's a country artist. He's got some new music. By the time this episode comes out, he'll have a brand new single, Whiskey to Work Out. Please welcome in Chad Bushnell.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great, yeah.
Now,
Nashville.
I was going to say, I like the silhouetted look there.
Yeah, it's different, huh? My own
Now, I know I don't think because you've been flying and traveling that you're having anything too strong tonight, unless it's just that dark coffee from Starbucks.
Yeah, a little dark coffee for that. I got another 2.5 hours of driving, so I got to stay awake. Yeah, since I'm the one driving, I can't be putting whiskey in my coffee right now. But
no, that probably wouldn't be good. I'm drinking a little Middle West Spirits out of Columbus tonight. Now, if you can drink and you're not having to travel, what's one of your favorite or your go-tos?
As far as whiskey, probably Pendleton. It's always kind of been my Pendleton whiskey, and I like bourbon too.
I like it. Now, are you a neat on the rocks and a cocktail? What are you going for?
A little of both. Sometimes when I'm home, I'll just have it on the rocks. But if I go out, I like to have it old fashioned. And some bourbon is usually my go-to. So yeah.
I like it. And now I also saw where you have some fun with some beef jerky. You have a collaboration with It's Jerky. How does that happen?
Yeah, so during COVID, I needed because I also work as a farrier sometimes when I'm not performing shows, and all my shows canceled. I said, man, I need something else to do, and so I reached out to It's Jerky. They sort of took off about 2 or 3 years ago. They got really popular, and so I just straight up asked them, "Hey, do you guys want to do a Chad Bushnell jerky?" And they were all about it, and it just has worked out. So it's been a blessing.
So are you a snacker? To keep your strength up when you're doing all that work.
Oh, for sure. Especially when when you're traveling a lot, playing shows, shoeing horses. It's it takes a lot out of you. So I have it on hand at all times, and I munch on it, keep the protein going. And so.
I like it. Now, I also saw where the other day you were doing some stuff with Project K9 Hero, and you've done some shows with them, and I think you mentioned you're looking forward to doing some more shows. So how did you get involved with them? Because it seems like they're a pretty cool organization.
Yeah, so, one of those things where, met someone at a bar. Basically, that's how that worked out. I was in Nashville, and I was wearing a cowboy hat, and across there's another guy wearing a cowboy hat, and we just sort of hit it off and had a couple beers, and, from there, he watched me sing, and then he told me what he did, and he was the head of Project K9 Hero, and we just became buddies, and, now he has me for events, and I got to play the after party the other night for some of my heroes, some big names, and so it was pretty awesome. It's been a great experience.
Well, and you touched on it, whether it's doing some work with horses or things like that. You enjoy the great outdoors. So, what's your favorite thing to do? Is it hunting, fishing? Is it roping? Is it just being out on the ranch?
Man, all the above. All that stuff's great when I have time. Anymore, I probably only really hunt 1 week out of the year, and I love it. Try to fish in between when I can, and I usually ride and rope when my sister's around, and because she is in the rodeo industry, and my parents have horses, and I love to ride every chance I get, of course, but it's stay pretty busy with doing my music and a little bit of farrier work I do in between. So
I was gonna say, do you get to enjoy the great outdoors too often?
Yeah, like I said, we go once a week deer hunting, my dad and uncle and I, out in the mountains, and it's always great. So yeah. Fishing, usually the fishing opportunities come through the music, just traveling and people I know, hey, you want to go fishing if you're in town? And I try to take them up on as much as I can and just stuff like that. So.
No, that's a smart move. Anytime you can take a little relaxation when you're staying busy, that's always good. And then you mentioned your sister who's doing rodeo. I got to ask though, when did you give up rodeo?
Man, I've always I competed through pretty much senior year of high school, maybe a little bit early college, just team roping and stuff. But I remember my senior year, I was steer wrestling, and I'd only really done it a few years. I loved it, and I had a chance to go to maybe college and do it. But I came out on my last run to make the national rodeo finals, and I went out and missed. It happened that quick, all I had to do was catch, and I looked up at my parents. I just said, you know what? I think that's it for me. I want to stick with music and just, maybe shoe horses. And I just go watch my sister, and maybe I'll team rope once in a while. But that's about it.
Well, I was gonna say I was talking to Lane Smith a while back, and he goes, it's probably not always the smartest thing to do when you're, you got to use your hands, be able to play, do things like that. So those two careers don't exactly always go hand in hand.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's. No, it's great. You got to be careful. Yeah, it's always, it's the rodeo and the music they kind of go together. I know a lot of musicians that that shoe horse. Actually, there's kind of a few of us. When I go back to Nashville, I have a friend from Pennsylvania. I got one from Southern California. They shoe horses and sing country, and kind of have our own little club. I guess I don't know. Or we should start our own little club, I should say. Yeah.
I was gonna say, my next question is Yellowstone gonna call you up so they can actually, fill in some spots and have you do some real work too?
Maybe, yeah. They might need a stunt man or something because I'm not really the best actor, but I can ride rope, hammer and paint, I guess. So they could use me somewhere in there.
Now you mentioned though you've had a love for music, so when did you get into music and kind of go down that road?
Yeah, I've always, ever since I was small, or I guess a young boy, I should say, 2 or 3, my dad played in a local country band, and I was just always kind of infatuated by it at a young age. I loved going to band practice and, watching someone play the drums, electric guitars, and I played at church with my great-grandma. I was just always into it. I loved it, being around it. And I got my first guitar lesson when I was 4 from the worship leader at Cowboy Church, and they have a lot of cowboy churches up here. And ever since then, I started just learning little easy songs like "Turkey in the Straw" and "Folsom Prison Blues," and then it just went from there, really.
Is it true that you kind of had like a guitar when you were like three years old and were trying to play and make music?
Yeah. There's pictures and videos of me. Like when my dad was playing the band, my mom would take pictures and videos of me. I was, pretend like I was playing. They let me come in front, and so I always knew I wanted to play music. That's what I wanted to do.
Now, you mentioned, you grew up on the ranch. You're up in Northern California, right? Am I right on that, where you grew up? So what was that like? Because I'm guessing that it's almost like real cowboy music and talking about some of those real things that are in those songs.
Yeah, I grew up, doing a lot of rodeo stuff, and because we had horses and all that stuff and chickens and dogs, and I just I always did chores. My parents always had me doing chores, and I learned how to do a lot of stuff at a young age. We did a lot of build a lot of fence. Of course, shod horses, just anything you would do on a ranch. And, I feel like it taught me discipline, and it taught me about work. And, I know the music business, it's a lot of work trying to keep everything going. So, it taught me a work ethic. I would say the best thing that it taught me, and, I was blessed for that. So.
Well, and then do you get to go back to the ranch often? And then when you're back there, are you put to work?
A little bit. Yeah, we try. Yeah, I try to help out as much as I can, and when I'm not out on the road performing, I try to work on the ranch a little bit, and shoe horses, do whatever I can do, and keeps me in shape.
And it keeps you honest too, right?
Yeah, no, it's great. It's a great lifestyle, and I loved growing up in the rodeo ranch world. All my family was involved in ranches, and so I just kind of was always around it growing up. Yeah.
Well, and now I also read too, because you talk about having a love for music, always playing music, being on the ranch. I want to know how all that though comes to you getting a unicycle and learning how to ride a unicycle and do tricks with it.
Yeah, so there's a little story behind that. So when I was about 9 or 10, I was starting to get a little more serious about riding rough stock. When you're that age, you're only riding you ride sheep when you're 5, 6, and you go to calves when you're 8 to 10, and steers after that, and then bulls if you want. I was at the calf riding stage, and I kind of started taking a pretty serious interest in it. So my dad saw a unicycle on the side of the road. I think he paid $10 for it, and we fixed it up, and he just said, "Hey, I want you to learn how to ride this thing, help you with your balance for riding calves." And we still have it, and yeah, surprised I haven't gotten any bad wrecks on it. I probably don't, but
I was gonna say, are you still hopping on it on occasion?
Oh yeah. We just got it fixed up again. So when I'm at the house, I still ride it, and we try different things with it. We just, it's great. It's good for your balance. And it's fun.
And it just another skill set that you can add to the resume.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, one thing you probably shouldn't do is ride a unicycle and drink some whiskey. But you, like I said, you got some new music coming out. By the time this drops, your latest single, "Whiskey to Work," is out. Can you tell folks a little bit about it?
Yeah. So I decided making this the title track of my new album, "Whiskey to Work," and a lot of times I write everything that I put out. I didn't actually write this song. I was in Nashville, and my friend Dan Hudson runs Porchlight Pickers at the Local, which is kind of a popular songwriter night. We kind of heard this song, that because they'll play on the songwriter nights, they'll play demos of artists and everybody who's playing, and I heard this song. I said, "Wow, it's a good song." And my mom was with me. She's like, "Who sings that?" And the host Danny's like, "Actually, I wrote that song," and we had it demoed, and we're kind of like, "Man, could I sing that?" And I said, "I need that for my next album," and he was real nice about it and said, "Sure." So I put my own spin on it, and it's coming out this Friday.
Well, and I was gonna say I've got a chance to listen to it, and it's definitely a fun song. There's kind of a nice rhythm to it. It's like I said, it's got a little energy to it. Is that kind of what you were hoping for, and kind of hoping to get people to have fun with it?
Yeah, I want it to be everybody, especially a lot of places I play, everybody likes to line dance, swing dance, and I mean it's perfect for that. That's what I was going for. Possibly even something to come out at shows with. Like an intro song. And get the crowd going. And the last 2 or 3 songs I came out with, I liked them, but they were more kind of slow, mid-tempo, and I really needed that line dance and fast country song, and that's what this is.
Yeah, I was gonna say the most recent single that came out in November was "Fallen in Love." with you, a little different than working for the whiskey.
Yeah. You got to kind of come out with different stuff. I had a Christian country song that came out earlier this year that did pretty well. So, I'm just kind of going on both ends of the spectrum there. But yeah, but it's, kind of. But I'm excited. I can't wait. And, I got some really fun shows this weekend. And they just got done playing in Nashville, so it's been great lately.
Well, and I was going to say, you mentioned, those the Christian country songs. You've had some pretty good success on those charts as well. Is that just something that you like to share and be able to kind of sing about?
Yeah, I grew up singing in cowboy church, playing church with my great grandma. So it's it's all the Christian music's been a big part of my life, and I've been blessed really to have met some guys in the industry like Corey Lee Barker, who are monster songwriters that really have helped me with my songwriting. And I co-wrote "Thank God," the one that came out, and it hit #1 on Christian country. So it's been great getting to write with Corey Barker, Bill DeLuigi, and Mark Bernowski were the writers. Oh, Joey Boone. I got to mention Joey Boone, but so yeah.
Well, I was going to say, you have those songs, and then you have, Whiskey to Work. Is it weird to kind of have those two, or is that, like I said, just you, and that you're just being, yourself?
Yeah, it's kind of, if you look at my bio, it's kind of like, I got the Christian country roots. We grew up, working, going to church, and just kind of, but, and that's just kind of how I grew up. And, the thing about Thank God, I kind of wanted to write something middle of the road, that catered towards people that, kind of, they might go to church, but they also might have a beer or a shot of whiskey. And so, so Thank God was kind of that song. And it's probably been my most popular songs. It's got over 40,000 streams, which is good for me. We're hoping for 100,000 for Whiskey to Work is the goal. So we're shooting high. And
well, and you mentioned you've put out some songs. You've got a couple. You got the new one, Whiskey to Work, coming out. So I'm guessing all this though is leading to either a new album or an EP. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, I've been working on this album for a little while now. It's gonna be called Whiskey to Work, and it's coming out March 24th. And I'm doing some release parties for it. And so you can go to chadbushnell.com, see where my shows are. And of course, I got some fun shows this weekend, playing in Susanville, California, and Crescent City, California. So I'm excited.
Well, and I was going to say, like, obviously they've gotten a little bit of tease with some of the songs you've put out. Are those all going to be on this? Is it going to be a nice mix that whether it's a little up tempo or a little slower?
Yeah, it's definitely a mix. I got some newer sounding originals, older sounding originals, some covers. A special guest on one song, and
Ooh.
Yeah, it'll be kind of a mix. I think people are going to like it. It's not all the songs are going to be the mainstream country sound, but I think people will like it still. It's country. So, yeah. Well,
and it's, I'm guessing it's your sound that you enjoy to hear and play. It's what you grew up on.
Yeah. I'm excited about it. It's we've been working on it for a while now, so it's coming out in just less than 2 months. So.
I was going to say it'll be here before you know it, and you touched on this, that you mainly are writing on a lot of your songs, or co-writing now, maybe not for Whiskey to Work, but what is it like, putting out those songs, or you're putting those lyrics to paper? Where does that inspiration come for you?
And just from everyday life, just experiences of love and work and traveling in the music, and just it's kind of a grind sometimes. I mean, it's it's a lot of work. And you just kind of never know. I'm always thinking of stuff all the time, and just sometimes when I'm frustrated or when I'm happy, you just never know. Song's gonna come about, and then I just start working on it, and it sort of comes,
Now, are they always just general ideas, or is it life experiences for you?
It's both. Like Falling in Love with You. I was writing that song. Actually, I was kind of writing for the album. I'm like, man, I got a lot of different songs on there. I needed a strong mid-tempo love song, so I said, you know what, I'm going to sit down for a couple days and try to do this. And I'm a big fan of Josh Turner, and his Firecracker album. It came out when I was in high school, and that's always been one of my favorite country albums, from that, probably the last 15, 20 years. And so I'm like, man, I'd love to write a song like something real strong, traditional that Josh Turner would sing, and that's what Fall in Love with You basically was what I was going for with that.
And now you mentioned, you've got the new album coming out, and you got some shows coming up. So what's your favorite part about being up on stage and getting to perform?
Oh man, just watching the crowd, and now most recently watching them, sing some of my songs, and yeah, it's been great. Just you know, seeing how people react to my songs when I'm trying to perform, and so yeah.
I was gonna say, is it?
I mean, the traveling part is great. It's kind of a grind, but um, yeah. So I love to travel. I mean, it is a grind. Sometimes you're tired, and so. But I mean, I love once I'm up there. Once all the work's done, I'm up there performing, seeing people dance and reacting. It's always great. So.
Well, and I was going to say, you mentioned it. You actually have people now that are maybe singing along, doing that. I mean, how cool is it to know that people have loved your songs and have come out to see you perform and be part of it all?
Yeah, it makes all that hard work and money spent worth it, really, for me. Because I mean, I've been at it for a while, and I've worked really hard, and so hearing watching people sing the words, it just kind of makes it all worth it for me. I know it's what I want to do, and so it's great, really.
And then obviously, like you said, you got the album coming out. You've got the new single out, and but there's still a lot left in 2023 after all this. So what can folks expect? And I'm guessing it's going to be a lot of shows and getting out there and having fun.
Yeah, a lot of shows, and actually something that's going to be in the works here real soon is Christmas music. And I've never released a serious Christmas single, and that's my goal for this year is one to two. I might be releasing two, and so we're going to start working on that probably in May, June, I'm thinking. And so I'm going to possibly a Christmas EP, but probably just two singles. And we want to put them out, and try to get them on the Christmas charts. And so that is my goal for the end of this year.
I like it. I like that. That sounds like a little bit of fun. And I'm guessing as you've gone through all this and the journey you've been on, what's it like trying to set those goals and try to work toward all those accomplishments?
Yeah, it's just I always know going into it, it's a lot of work. I try to make a plan, in little timelines of I want to have this done by June. I want to have it ready to go by September. Releasing in October, because a lot of them are saying October is when they want the Christmas songs, or even before that if you're going for placement. But so I'm basically, I have a song that I wrote a couple years ago. Is unfortunately when my great grandma passed, I wrote a Christmas song about it. So I want to release that one. And then Corey Lee Barker, I mean, he's known for writing Christmas songs for the Hallmark Channel for big stars like Jamie O'Neill and people like that. So I might get one from Corey or write one with him. I'm not sure how we're going to do that, but hopefully get some placement through Corey would be great. So
I was going to say that
it's the first time I've done this. I've sang Christmas songs, and kind of posted them and stuff. I've never put a Christmas single out, so this will be my first. So.
No, I love that. Another challenge to go forth. And I'm guessing, those days of the rodeo and having to persevere and, go with the flow are going to come in handy as you try to work on all these.
Yeah. Exactly. So, yeah.
Well, I'll go for it.
Oh, I said, no, I'm just excited. Like I say, getting in the studio, actually recording a real Christmas song, and doing all that. So I'm excited for it.
Well, it sounds like an exciting year with new music and albums, shows. I mean, do you ever stop?
A little bit during the wintertime, because my horseshoeing business gets slow that I have, and my shows, kind of November through January is sort of my slowdown time. But like I said, ever since I went to Nashville last week, I know it's getting busy, but I love it though, and we'll usually take a trip or two once in a while, go somewhere and take a little break. But yeah, I mean, it's constant, it's a lot of work, but I love the lifestyle. So.
Well, and you're putting out some good music, and folks, if you haven't, when Whiskey to Work hits the streaming platforms, I highly recommend it, and be on the lookout for the album at the end of March. And Chad, thanks for sharing a drink with me and talking a little music.
Maybe next time it'll be whiskey, but this time it was coffee.
Find more from Hops and Spirits at hopspirits.com.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.